Whether we monarchist Brits like to admit it or not, the President of the United States is the single most important person in the world, commanding the world's mightiest military and holding the purse strings of its biggest economy. The President could end Israel's war in Gaza with a phone call or decide if Ukraine gets the backing it needs to beat Putin. At least that's the general idea. But the current Commander-in-Chief is 81, seemingly going on 181 after a lifetime of distinguished public service as a pragmatic politician and, in my view, a thoroughly decent human being. President Biden looks increasingly unfit for service. And with the president in visible decline, his re-election campaign is, well, transitioning. You might say its pronouns are changing before our very eyes. The two most important women in President Biden's life have been sent out to jumpstart the 2024 race. Wildly unpopular VP Kamala Harris said this.
We've got 10 months to go until the election. And increasingly, and you've seen it even just this week, we are all starting to narrow in on what this election will mean. And it's going to be the choice between what is about respecting our democracy, what is about competence versus chaos.
Well, the Vice President is right. Competence is crucially important, but her own boss has trouble getting up the stairs and can't seem to find a way off a stage. His frequent verbal and physical stumbles are the subject of both comedy and concern. Most people responded with laughter and derision, for example, when First Lady Jill Biden said this about him.
I see Joe every day. I see him out, traveling around this country. I see his vigor. I see his energy.
To those who say I can't vote for Joe Biden, he's too old. What do you say?
I say his age is an asset.
Energy and vigour. Not quite what I'm seeing. You can make a plausible case for the wise old statesman with a firm hand on the tiller, but campaigning on Biden's vigour may well fast-track Donald Trump, who does have a lot of vigour, to the White House. Now, at 77, Trump's no spring chicken himself, but with his diet-defying swagger and showmanship, most people on his side seem to be believing him when he says things like this.
I feel like I'm about 35 years old. I actually feel better now than I did 30 years ago. Tell me, is that crazy? I feel better now. And I think cognitively I'm better than I was 20 years ago. I don't know why.
That is a slightly more debatable subject, Mr. Trump, but a whopping 77% of Americans, both Republican and Democrats, believe that Biden is simply too old to run the country. Almost 70% think he's mismanaged the crisis at the southern border. Just 13% say they're financially better off on his watch. At this stage of his term, he's the least popular US president in recorded history. And this stuff matters. US politics is almost hysterically polarised to the rest of us outside America, but most voters are in fact ready to be persuaded. White working-class voters ditched the Democrats to propel Trump to office in 2016. Now more and more Hispanic and black voters are shifting Republican too. Biden says he's the only man who's ever beaten Trump, and that's true. But right now, he may be the only one who can lose to Trump in November.